Hey, how you doing? This is a video to Eduardo, and so anyway, he has purchased about 10 of the round, the poker chip, and some of the Sharpen Spark Mini products, and I believe he's from Chile. Okay, he was in Orlando, Florida, I think during the holidays, and in his email, he's actually written a little bit. And so some of the description of what he wrote to me would be the poker chip wasn't as easy as the Sharpen Spark, and I think it was the Sharpen Spark Mini. And he wasn't having as good of luck with the poker chip as he was the Sharpen Spark Mini. And so he wants me to kind of look at his videos, because he did a video of him sharpening and everything. And so anyway, he's a pretty good enthusiast for the sharpening. He has several different sharpeners, motorized, and like the Sharpen Spark, or excuse me, like the Work Sharp. And then like a 20-year-old strop that's two-sided, probably a fine, and a coarse rouge on the strop. And then when he feels like really putting an edge on, he'll sit down and run the knife over the strop a little bit. And so anyway, this particular video, he sent email. He sent a video that we're going to watch. All right. And so he says, I like to share a lot with my hiking friends and your hunters, your firemen, or firearms people, and knife enthusiasts. All right. And so let's go ahead and click on the video and see what is first time I've seen this email, actually. So let's go down here. Oh, where's my cursor? And we'll touch that. We'll back up. We'll film it. And
we'll include a link so they can watch it themselves.
Okay.
So, all right.
All right. So let's just watch the video and see what he uses. Okay. He's got the black one.
All right. We'll come back.
Okay. There's the black one. Ooh, he's got one of them. Okay. On the Eduardo's from Chile. We've been watching his video here, and he's got a lot of good techniques. Maybe I'm talking to Eduardo a little bit now, instead of the rest of the group. You have a lot of good techniques, but I see you keep taking your index finger off of it. You can't do that. You have no control over that sharpener, so to speak. Okay, and so this is the only way right here. I'm going to turn. You can look. Okay, my thumb in that position, my middle finger touching. My index finger is 90 degrees to that side. My thumb is not 90 degrees to it. It's never, ever like this, okay? It's like that. So this is the only position you should ever hold that sharpener in, just like that. I do my sharpening, I do the honing, I do the polishing, I do everything with my fingers touching. I never try to hold my index finger up in the air, okay, and control the sharpener with nothing but your thumb and your middle finger. I wouldn't do that, okay? You're going to hear a lot of things that I wouldn't do. So here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to teach you how to do it right, which means I tell you the things that I wouldn't do, okay? I see a lot of things that you're doing, then you'll go back to the index finger. That's okay. And then when you're putting it down on the table, okay, you're actually holding on to the head. Oops. I got to get on the table over here. Otherwise, I can't show you what you're doing and stuff. All right, but when you're holding on to the head of the sharpener, it's just something that I wouldn't do. I hold on to it like this. My whole hand is supported on the table like that. The heel of my hand, my thumb is touching. And then, boy, I need a knife. So anyway, you would slide it through off like this. And I think we're gonna get us a knife right here. Okay, so it would be more like this. And I don't put my hand up there like that. I don't think you'll ever see me unless I'm really trying to rip like the butter knives. I wanted my thumb to push down on it, but otherwise I just take a hold of it gently with my whole hand, my thumb, all my fingers, and I just run it through like this. Not too hard, but just like that. Keep about that speed. Keep it uniform. Okay, so when you sharpen your knives, and they're actually pretty dull, especially the paring knife, I think was really dull. So I would start out. I wouldn't actually start out with the round one unless, the poker chip. I wouldn't start out with that unless it's all I had. If I actually had the Sharpen Spark sitting there, the Sharpen Spark Mini, I jump right into the V. I would run it through there a few times, reprofile the blade, cut it to 10 on each side, 20 inclusive, and then after you've done this, just like this, you can get right up here next to it. You're not going to cut yourself. The knife is down in the V, just like that. Okay. And then I would just kind of pester it like this. Notice my fingers, the position of my fingers. I don't ever hold the sharpener any other way than this, never. Watch my videos and see, and I don't think you're going to see me hang on to this sharpener any different than what I'm doing. My thumb, if I can turn around here, my thumbnail is pretty much straight across from the bottom part of the plastic on the carbide, okay? My index finger, take a look where it is, all right? Take a look at how much my middle finger is hanging out over the sharpener, and the angle of my thumb towards the sharpener, not parallel, but over that way a little bit, okay? Now that we've messed with this knife just a little bit, okay, now first of all, never do this back here. Never, absolutely never cut your paper with all that paper sticking out there. Okay, put your thumb sort of between your fingers so that the paper has a curve to it. So it's cupped in here, so there is at least a little rigidity to that paper. So what I really want you to do, I'm good at it and I got sharp knives. You're not good at it yet, so here's what I want you to do. First of all, you need to save the paper. Don't mutilate so much paper trying to accomplish your goal. So what you just well tore it in two like that. All right, and then work with smaller pieces of paper. Cup it. My fingers are holding it here. That paper is good and solid. Take the knife and slice with your finger this way, not down into it, but like this. Okay, stay up by your finger. I noticed on your paper, for whatever reason, the top is actually curled ever so slightly towards you. That means it's just going to continue to curl and it's not going to cut. So make sure your paper is flat and straight. Okay, now you'll notice that I come back over here by my fingers. All right, and have the knife down at an angle about like this. When you touch the paper, have it moving a little bit down as you push in. Now notice I start here and I end up out towards the tip like that. Now a sharp knife, I can kind of just push it right on through. But it makes it easier to slice the paper if you start down here, drag it down as you go in, and it just works better. Do not try to take big slices because the paper's just going to go retarded on you. Okay, so now I can take that little piece and just keep working on it. But notice I'm kind of cutting a little bit lengthways with my finger, not down into it like that. Smaller pieces of paper will cut easier like that. Cup it between your thumb between your fingers. Put a tiny, tiny bit of rigidity on that paper. So in other words, rigid, it wants to stay there instead of being pushed away. Like that. Come up by your finger. Turn the paper. The smaller the piece of paper, almost the easier it is to cut. Okay, so with your poker chip, all right, and I wouldn't, generally speaking, I would never try to actually use the poker chip on a wad of keys because that, gets it moving like that. So it would actually fight with you instead of helping you. Okay, so with the poker chip, all right, when I'm sharpening, I gotta get in the light here. When I'm sharpening, okay, I do hang on to the little black part of the keychain like this. My index finger is capturing, that way. My thumb is more on the black part here than the sharpener. But when I start out with a dull knife, I would set it on a table. Now it's actually solid and rigid. And I would just go along, and I actually get a hold. I don't try to let it float like this. I actually get a hold of it so that when I push on it, it doesn't want to move. The table makes it more solid so that the actual effort that I touch into isn't taken up by it being spongy. It's solid. My fingers against the table, okay? The knife is against the table, and I would just put perhaps 3 ounces of pressure on it in the beginning because it's dull. And the absolute truth, if these two are sitting on the table, I'm not going to start with this. I'm going to jump right into the V, okay? And do it, because then that's both sides of the knife at the same time. So I would actually press hard enough to see a little bit of metal on the table. I also wouldn't have it out on the table like that, trying to work on it. I bring it over here and work on it like this, being careful. Now, see, this has a pretty on it, so I can't get out quite out here like that, so don't cut the table with the tip of the blade, okay? If you have a good square corner edge, that's better. All right. So I would start with the V. I would just cut it off, make it better. Then I'd tune it up maybe with this. If this is all I had to work with, then I would set it down, get my fingers braced against the table, get the knife braced against the table, put some pressure on it, and don't hit it like that, because you're going to put little divots in the blade, and then you're going to have problems. So land like a 747 full of TNT that's got the fuse lit and everything else, you know. So just like this, I don't pick it up very far at all, but you can hear I am picking it up and then sliding it forwards. Then I would just turn it, bring it out, making sure I stay at 10 degrees. When I was watching you do it on the table and stuff, next thing you know, you've got the knife tipped up too far and you're way above 10 degrees. You're more like 20, 25 degrees on each side. That knife's never going to cut right. So you can have it down here like that. My hand is fully against, or you can put it down here like this. I'm going to stop. Now take a good look at the angle of the sharpener to the blade, and that might be a little less than 10 degrees. Okay, without really moving, I can't tell. But anyway, it should be something like that, about 10 degrees. Don't land real hard. Use force. Draw it on out. Move right along. Down there on the tip. Turn it over. Do exactly the same thing, putting a good amount of pressure on it, but not so much that it grabs and sticks. Don't do that. Just like this, right on out to the point, and then just like this. Now I'm going to flip the knife every pass, just like that, and I lighten up on the pressure. I touch it real light, polish the blade, take that wire edge off the blade. Now if you can go this way, and we'll see how that's kind of catching seriously, okay, like that. All right, and when I come this way, it's not so much. That means there is actually a bevel still, a burr on that back side. So let's do, because I was pushing pretty hard when I was doing that. So just like this, like that. All right, like that. Now, let's just go lighter and lighter and lighter and see if the burr is still there. When you first start out on a knife, okay, that's not so bad now. And that's not so bad, so there's no burr. So let's see what we got now. Okay. Now you can see how it cuts. Also, don't put your hand up here. Don't get a hold of the knife like that. It's too rigid. I don't put my finger up there like that. I actually, most of the time, I kind of hold it like a violin bow, you know, and let the knife and the paper sort of be floaty. You know, like this, I can still do it. And that's not so easy that way. But this way is a lot easier. Okay, I'm up by my finger. I have a little V going on. I'm not going directly with my finger. That won't work. So you have to kind of cut into it like that. Oop, bent the paper. Like that. When I'm slowing, I actually caught my finger and I had to quit, because if you keep moving it, that knife is sharp enough, it would probably have cut me. All right, so smaller pieces of paper out towards the edge. Cup the paper between your index and middle finger with your thumb. See how it has a rounded hole there. Then come up by your finger, slice the paper like that. And see, this knife might be sharp enough that I, knowing what I'm doing, could actually come out there. Now see, I'm cutting almost with the paper this way, not down that way. And if you can get it to catch, and you turn into it, get it to catch, and then come right on out. And I can work that paper a long ways out there. Okay, so those are just a few things I've noticed. First of all, you were trying to work this with and keep your index finger off of it. Never do that. Ever, ever, ever. I hold it like this. That's the only way I ever hold it. So 3 digits, thumb, middle finger, and your index finger. Index finger is about 90 degrees to it. Your thumb is probably about a 10-degree angle off of it. And the middle finger is basically also 90 degrees, just like that. If you start trying to use the Sharpen Spark Mini any other way than this, you're probably going to be frustrated because it's really not going to work well. Your bigger, longer knives, run those through the V with a little pressure. You actually want to see little tiny pigtails of metal come off because you actually need to cut those into the proper angles, 10 on this side, 10 on that side. So put them down on the table. Let's pretend that knife is a 10-inch kitchen knife. So you're going to put it on the corner out this way or the countertop or something. I'm going to just put it in that little groove, see how that works. And you draw the knife all the way through. And you do that with enough pressure on it that you actually see metal coming off on the table. 3 or 4 times, that should cut it back to the right 10 and 10. Another thing I noticed at the edge of the table, when you're sitting at the table, you're actually all blocked up like this, and you're trying to work on the knife like this. You can't do that. When I'm working on a knife about belly button height, about a foot from my body, so that everything just moves and kind of floats like it should. So it would be just like this, like that, like that, like that. Keep your hands off of your body. Keep your arms off of your body. Your body has nothing to do. You're trying to get, like a machine, and you can't do that. So on this one, see, I actually roll it. I go out on that corner, come back on this corner, out on that corner. So I'll come back on the left corner. Then I roll it over, go out on the right corner, back on the left corner, left corner, and then full length like this. But don't hit it like that. You're going to put little divots all over the blade, and that's just going to get worse. So just like that, and in the end, I flip it every pass, touch it light, but see how I'm not going to move my fingers. Take a darn good look at my fingers. Never hold the sharpener any other way. Just don't do it. It's not good. It's not going to help you. You won't achieve the same results. Okay, now, right now, I just noticed my thumb is almost parallel. Normally, it is about like that. Either way is really good. It doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to learn how to do it yourself. It's practice, 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 practice. I had a guy that actually out in Spokane, Washington, wanted to do this. I met him at a gun show, and I said, okay, I'll tell you what, this is Sunday. We're going to part company. Your job is the sharpeners that I give you. You're going to go, and all your friends, neighbors, relatives, the people you work with, everybody you know, everybody in your apartment complex, I will know next Saturday morning at the next show when you pick up a knife and my sharpener, whether you listened and did what I told you to or not. And I will also know that you either did or did not sharpen every knife you could get your hands on, because I'm going to pick a couple knives and I'm going to dull them. And if you can't sharpen them, because they're already fairly sharp, if you can't sharpen them, you did not do what I told you to. And if you don't, I'm not going to waste my time with you. That was, God, I think 11 years ago. And Chad Russler from Spokane, Washington, did really well. He did exactly what I told him to. He was very good at it the next weekend. He went on and worked literally every weekend. I'm betting he didn't miss more than maybe 3 weekends in 8 years. That man was dedicated. He drove hundreds of miles to shows and made pretty good money. So anyway, if I tell you, borrow your neighbors, your mom and dad, your brother, sister, your aunts and uncles, your cousins, scissors, just sharpen knives constantly. And let's say a week down, 2 weeks down the road, if you really are sharpening them, doing what I told you to, you'll have it down. Eduardo said that he would like to become like an ambassador in Chile, for the product. And I think that's a really good idea. Who knows, maybe we work out something and I come sleep on your couch for 2 or 3 days, and give you one-on-one, help and stuff like that. I've never been to Chile, and I tell you what, I would really, really like to do that. So that's kind of what I have right now. I would maybe in the future I'll be gone down to Mexico for about 17 days. And when I get back, who knows, maybe we'll actually stop the video, watch the video, stop the video, and I'll hurry when we won't watch like the whole thing on this video. But we'll go to where I can start maybe critiquing a little bit more. I seen you get kind of frustrated. You kept switching different ways to hold the sharpener. You hit the knife blade a little bit harder, I think, because you were getting frustrated. You tried to work this thing without your middle finger on it, and that's not going to work well, so that would frustrate you. And so just some things. You might sound like I'm really chewing you out, but I'm not. I'm just trying to tell you not to do the things that are not productive. And so if you break all those nasty little habits, then you end up with the good habits, and the good habits will get you through. When you use the round one, and you had mentioned that you had pretty good results with the Sharpen Spark, not as good results with this. Part of that is because this has no V-notch. When you actually resorted, and that's what you should have done in the first place on some knives, you go ahead and jump right into the V, cut it hard enough that you see a little metal on the table. That reprofiles the blade to 10 on this side and 10 on this side, so it's only a 20 degree. So you know that you're starting out with the right angle and the right bevel and all that stuff if you run it through the V. Then it's just a matter of tune-ups. Okay, so this is Brad Buckner, sharpensbest.com, Eduardo in Chile. You're going to make more videos, I think, and put them on, and then we'll put them on linked or however it happens to our email and to Sharpens Best, YouTube Sharpens Best, things like that. So other people can watch them and see a very real scenario of you got the sharpeners, you watch the videos, you're trying to figure it out, you're working on 3 or 4 different types of knives, and then the progression of, let's say, a month down, well, longer than that because I'm going to be gone 17 days, but you're not going to be gone. You're going to be working. You're going to do what I tell you to, or else. All right, and then maybe 2 months down the road, when you've been working on it for 2 months, and I can go, I still have access to, YouTube Sharpens Best, and then Chance and I'll talk. He can send me, text and things like that. So it isn't like I'll be gone 17 days and then we have no contact. But in 17 days, you actually ought to have this figured out pretty good. And so you think about what I've said, do what you're going to do, try to make it right, make another video, make shorter videos, but remember this, smaller pieces of paper is better than whole 8.5 by 11 sheets. And then you get frustrated, you got all these pieces hanging down, the paper doesn't want to hang straight, your cutting is being influenced by this gob of hacked up paper. I seen you get frustrated with that. And so actually, once you've tried a couple of cuts, if you need to, tear that off. Now you're just working with something that's not all hacked up, and you cut it like that, okay? Whatever that angle right there is, match that angle coming down and off away from my finger. I start into it and I can cut, see, actually that's a radius, or I just cut a straight one. That's actually a tiny bit of radius because actually as I go out, the paper moves. So actually if the paper moved far enough and it kept cutting, I would just cut a circle right out of that paper. You know, don't work with big pieces of paper. Don't hack it all up. Stay up here by your finger until you really learn how to sharpen them. Turn it a little bit. Don't go too far with one. Keep turning it like that. Keep working on it. Now I can cup it more with my finger and cut into it. There's a lot of stuff I can do because I know how to make the paper respond the way I want it to. And a sharp knife will cut radiuses. Dull knives, you can't possibly do that. You can hack it, but you can't just slice it. This is Brad Buckner, sharpensbest.com. Eduardo, you got a lot of our product. You're a good customer. I think you're going to get it. You're not a spring chicken. All right, just work, listen to what I say, watch my videos, and never hold the sharpener any different than that right there. You absolutely have to make yourself not change that grip just like that. You can come up here a little bit more with your thumb. That's okay if you need to add pressure to the knife. That's okay. But this is how you do it. You don't put your finger up like that. You don't pull your index finger back. All right. You take care, and we'll keep working with each other. We're going to make this work, and it'll be fun because other people get to see what might be a very good real scenario as to how to use it, how to overcome the obstacles, how to get it to where you actually just slice the paper. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.